Our next water session is called Navigating Stormy Seas. Lauren Wu is an internationally recognized keynote speaker, former chief legal officer, and executive leader who helps organizations build healthier, more resilient workplaces. Drawing from her background in law, executive leadership, and personal reinvention, she delivers practical strategies that empower individuals and organizations to navigate change with clarity, courage, and purpose. She is also a passionate advocate for mental well being, leadership, and sustainable success. And let me just say, Lauren has quite a story to tell everybody. Welcome, and thank you so much for your Google alert and answering the call.
Oh, it's such an honor to be here. And I have just been in awe of listening to all of these speakers. I am amidst just some incredible women, I have to say. Like, it's been wonderful listening to these stories.
Excellent. So, why don't you elaborate on your story? And do you want me to stay on the screen with you, or do you want me to pop off and come back later?
Oh, no, stay,
Okay,
girl.
I'm staying. Go ahead, girl.
Well, it's a lovely theme that we have here with water. And the reason I say that is because it is but for a change of tide that I am here. I had no idea that someday I would be a keynote speaker. I was very happy being a chief legal officer and privacy officer. And 3 years ago, literally a riptide occurred to me. And that is my foreshadowing. So, with that, I will kind of begin my journey here and what led me to be with you all today. Um, 3 years ago, I was giving a 3 hour privacy training. I was at the height of my career, working out 3 days a week with a personal trainer, practicing yoga, meditating, doing all of the things that you should be doing to stay healthy and in your mental and physical health, and leading an international privacy program. I had just written some laws that had made it into California's privacy law, truly at the height of my career. And then I had pain in my ribs. That pain in my ribs led me to go to urgent care, which led to an ER visit. And in that ER visit, I learned that I had multiple blood clots in both lungs and might need surgery. What transpired after that day was what most people would think was recovery. Unfortunately for me, that was not to be the case. I lost the ability to walk. I lost the ability to read. And that last one was probably the most disheartening for someone who built her career around words and being arguably the smartest person in the room, at least according to me. I was reading to my daughter, Snow White, my then 3 year old, and the words were literally blurring on the page. I could not read Snow White to my 3 year old. Someone who had written California law couldn't understand basic words. I was dizzy every day. One thing I haven't mentioned is that I'm a former ballerina. A body that had once held releve for countless hours couldn't walk to the kitchen in her own home. This was 3 years ago. Today, I'm still not able to practice law because I still suffer from cognitive fog and decline. I had to relearn how to read. I've had to go to physical therapy to relearn how to walk. And now I walk with a cane because I'm so dizzy all the time. I can't be trusted to walk on my own. But I'm not here to tell you a sad story. I'm here to tell you that that is what led me to form my company, Heart Led Leadership. It is what led me to be speaking to you here today, to share a story of rebirth and change, a story of hope and finding new ways to take the things you love, the passions that drive you and finding new purpose when life literally takes you under the waves.
Everybody is riveted right now. Nobody is like moving in their chairs. So, first of all, I'm very grateful that you're here and that you're here with us. So that's the first thing.
Thank you.
We did speak before this session, and something you said to me about the being a ballerina actually has stuck with me in a lot of ways, and I really want to go back to that first decision that you had to make. You was obviously you were a professional ballerina, so you were trained. You had obviously dedicated many years, probably when you were started as a little kid. But I believe you said to me that there was a point that you realized that while you loved ballet, there was a very good chance you were not going to be the ballerina, and that you were going to spend your ballet career, which by the way is very short, people out there, in the what do they call it? The company, right? In the company.
The corps
And
de ballet.
you were like, I that's not the future that I want, to be 30 years old or 28 whenever they tell ballerinas they're over the hill. Then what were you going to do? So you made a conscious decision to go to law school. Can you discuss that?
Yes, so I started ballet at 2.5. My mom had always wanted to do ballet, knew I was going to be tall, and in fact, I am. I am 6 feet tall, which is exceedingly tall for a ballerina, by the way. Most ballerinas are like 5'6", maybe 5'8", 5'9". So I knew my ballet career was limited, shall we say. Um, that being said, I had such a passion for the art, and I was relatively good, all things considered. Uh, but my body fought me tooth and nail, both the height and, frankly, just body type. Subsisting on Diet Coke and popcorn, not a healthy life choice. But there came a point where I truly needed to make a decision. And that came at the age of 17. And it was keep pursuing ballet, go to college and really focus. And I am a recovering perfectionist, shall we say. And I decided that I couldn't do ballet halfway. And I couldn't do law halfway. I really needed to dive fully into one or the other. And so I chose law. And I have to tell you, it was the best decision of my life. I have loved being a lawyer, truly. And it's something I hope I will be able to return to. And I ended up being magna cum laude at USC. I ended up at the top of my class at Northwestern, graduating Dean's List almost every single semester. I think I missed one semester, first semester, I was not on Dean's List. And the rest, as they say, is history for my legal career, but at least temporarily. But that decision, it took me 7 years to be able to go watch a ballet again. But now my children are all doing ballet. Although my middle one just quit. She's decided hip hop and jazz is her life. That's fine. And my oldest has danced in San Francisco Ballet's Nutcracker. So, we have continued the passion and joy of ballet throughout our family. So the love has never left me.
Amazing. What is the anchor that keeps you grounded when things get rough?
You know, there was a time where it was dance, truly. So I grew up in an alcoholic household and it was fairly abusive. And dance for me was that anchor. It was my solid, safe space. And so, for me, finding that passionate place was my body can't do that anymore. So I lost that safe space a little bit. So I still recreationally go see the ballet, and that is safe for me. But now I find meditation and also mantras are very helpful. So one of the things I do, and this may sound very cheesy to some, is when I take my vitamins and medicine, I say, thank you for the vitality you are about to give me. And it just adds that little umph. One of the things I've learned in my recovery is that we are often, because of the stressful state that we are all living in constantly, in a state of fight and flight mentally and emotionally. And especially as women, we are just biologically more inclined to be in this state of fight and flight. And so putting ourselves in a positive outlook and mental state is essential. And so one of the ways you can do that is making yourself laugh, making yourself smile, or meditating. And doing one of those activities is a really great way to get yourself not only out of that fight and flight mindset, but also grounding yourself. And that truly has been life-saving for me, especially right now when I'm navigating all of these health issues. Because one thing I haven't mentioned is a new riptide has occurred, and I am going in for open heart surgery on Tuesday. So, surprise, surprise, the health journey never ends.
It's just so inspiring that you're not like curled up in a ball, in a corner, rocking back and forth, which might be my state of being, by the way. Um, so some of your choices you consciously made, and some were put in front of you by no doing of your own. What is your how do you even, how do you navigate something like, oh, you have three blood clots in your lungs, have a great day, when you know, or when you first started to realize that your legal career might be in the rear view. And I'm trying to be very sensitive. I'm not taking this lightly at all, and I hope I'm not being disrespectful in any
You
manner.
are being just the utmost respectful, and no, please don't. And someone said earlier, you embrace joy where you find it. And I truly do that. And I don't mean in a positive, toxic positivity type way, because I don't believe in toxic positivity. I just choose to be happy. And I choose to look at the bright side of things. For me, looking at the choices before me, I definitely allowed myself the chance to grieve. A different speaker mentioned that earlier. Give yourself that opportunity. I also see a therapist weekly and I had postpartum with all three children. So I have had the same therapist for more years than I will say. And I have spent a lot of time working through the grief for my career, the grief through the person I thought I would be at this stage of my life, but also being open to greeting the person that I am now and understanding that my core values, the core of who I am, has not changed. I have always wanted to advocate for women and strong leadership, and I am doing that. I have always wanted to fight for civil rights and privacy, and I am not doing that in my current legal or keynote speaking job necessarily, but I am in podcasts and I am through my nonprofit work. So I am still staying true to my core values. I am just finding new avenues to do them. And someone said earlier that when, tides shift, you look at the opportunities before you. This is not the end of your journey, it's the beginning of a new one.
So, grieving the old you and greeting the new you should be everybody's mantra, and that's another thing. Everyone's getting a mantra after this session. But um, you you are. obviously you're dealing with things one at a time, and the next thing you're dealing with is your surgery, and I'm not making light of that, and that is the main focus, and moving on. But in a different framework of this, you have a lot of uncertainty in front of you. And you mentioned you have children, which means that the future is something that you do have to think of. How do you manage that with as much uncertainty as you are going through right now?
Yeah. And we talked about anchors earlier, and let me kind of circle back to that a little bit. You find the anchors where you can. So I have mentors, both personal and professional, who I really rely upon. That old expression, it takes a village. Well, it takes a village personally to keep me happy and refreshed, not only to help with my family, but also to make sure my husband's doing okay. I am blessed. My mother lives with us, and she is a godsend. She is keeping me sane. Some of my best friends have flown in for the weekend. They're actually listening on this call as well. And they flew in to wish me well before my surgery. It takes a village. And these are the anchors that keep me whole and hearty, and understanding that I do have people surrounding me that will be there for my family, that will be there to support me and those that I love. And then from a career perspective, because I don't want to make all of this personal, I have mentors who have already reached out to me saying, "Hey, I have event planners that would love to hear from you when you are healthy." I have had to cancel guest speaking opportunities because of everything that's been happening. They've already invited me back for events in the fall. It's incredible how open and kind people are if you are your true self with them. Um, Authenticity is part of my brand, and I have been very open about my health journey, both on social media as well as in my communication with everyone. And so I encourage you, maybe not overshare, but be your true self, which an earlier speaker also said, but also be vulnerable, be willing to do that. Now, that doesn't work in all fields, and that doesn't work in all situations, but innately, humans can be kind. They just need the opportunity to show that kindness.
Again, you're leaving me speechless with all of this. What I want to pull up the panelists in a minute, but before we get to that, what is an action that everybody watching this session, whether in a replay or if they're here, can take to better navigate the stormy seas of their own careers?
Trust your internal compass. Your values will guide you through the strongest storms and the choppiest waters. If you are true to your values, true to yourself, no matter what life throws at you, be it career, be it personal, it will land you where you need to be. And remember, this is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of a new one.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lauren.